She is an awesome counselor. She also moonlights as a registered nurse as well. And so I've known Denise for many years, actually pushing close to 10, I think, so off and on. So she is a very positive person, very uplifting, and she will always make you feel good at the end of the day. So here is Miss Denise O'Doherty.
Hey, thanks. Hey, everybody. Welcome back from lunch. Can you hear me okay? Okay. So I have to hold.
Would you like a little stand?
The stand is on the shelf. Are you going to be moving around?
I was just going to write a little bit, but I can carry if I need to.
You want me to hook it up to this?
Yeah. Is that okay? That would be great. I'm half Italian. I use my hands, you know.
If you want to push it back as you write.
Okay, is that good? You can tell? Okay. Welcome back from lunch. Thank you very much for having me be here today. It's an honor. And I love that it's a cozy little group. I'm very excited about the topic. We're talking about self-esteem, which I love because self-esteem affects everything we do. It's part of who we are, and we take it with us through everything. And because we're a small little group, if you have questions, concerns, you want to say something, feel free to raise your hand and we can talk. Okay? We're going to be here for about 2 hours. We're going to take a break in the middle. If you need to go to the restroom or something, feel free to go, and we'll just keep moving right on, okay? Okay, I'm a marriage and family therapist. I'm a licensed drug and alcohol counselor. I'm a registered nurse, and I have a full-time private practice. And I also teach empowering classes for adults. I have classes on self-esteem, confidence, personal boundaries, effective confrontation, and how to maintain a long-term relationship. And my office is on Kirby. So that's what I do. And so what I would like to do is share my knowledge about self-esteem with you. I hope it helps. Again, this is practical information, and I love it. So, okay. So let's start. Confidence, self-esteem, they're not the same thing. What's confidence? Good question. Okay, I have to keep your minds going because you just had lunch. Yes?
Yes. Teach us. Believing that you can do something.
Yes, it's believing that you can do something. Yes, confidence is about doing something. Confidence is doing something well. When we do something well, we have confidence, and hopefully we're adults, you know, by now at this time in our life. We're good at something, and when you're good at something, it's easy. Okay, but being confident is not necessarily having self-esteem. Self-esteem is what?
Feeling good about yourself.
Feeling good about yourself. It's the reputation you have with yourself, so it could be good or bad. People could feel really good about themselves or not, but it's the reputation you have with yourself. It's your individual sense of personal worth and importance, right? How worthwhile am I? How important am I? That's self-esteem. So obviously, somebody could be really confident. Somebody could win the Olympic medal and the next day suicide, right? People are good at things, but their life doesn't have any meaning. They don't feel they're important. They don't feel they're worthy. So that's why I want to separate. Okay? So confidence is doing something well. Self-esteem is the reputation you have with yourself. But what if there was a person who really wasn't such a good person and they felt great about themselves, right? So just saying, you know, it's how you feel about yourself isn't really good enough. It's got to be based on something. Let me know if it's too close, too far, anything like that.
I'm adjusting.
Okay. So self-esteem is a reputation you have with yourself, but it has to be based on something. What do you think it should be based on? About the quality of your life. This is fun. I feel like a kid writing on the walls here. Yeah, it's like, can I really write on this? Is it going to go through? Okay, self-esteem, reputation with yourself. Based on the quality of your life, right? Okay, what else?
I was going to say, ideally, it should be based on things that you can control.
Based on things you can control.
Because if you can't control different if you base your self-esteem on aspects of your life that you can't control,
then you can't control how you feel about yourself.
Very good. Everybody get that? Okay. Anybody want to add anything while we're at it? Okay, let me read to you some of my favorite definitions, which includes what's already been said. Self-esteem is the experience of being capable of managing life's challenges. Right? You know, in life we say it's not what happens to us, but how we manage what happens to us. So if managing life's challenges is important, I call that coping skills. Right? Our coping skills help us manage what happens to us in life. So it's the reputation you have with yourself based on coping skills. How many people think they have good coping skills in here? Depends on the day. Okay, yeah, that's true. How much sleep you got the night before? Depends on the situation. Yeah. Okay. What else about coping skills? Pause up. You think, where did you get your coping skills?
A 12-step program.
Yes, definitely from a 12-step program. Best place in the world to learn tools for living. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that.
We all came from.
Oh, geez, we're putting this on the tape?
Yeah,
Okay.
we go a little ghetto every once in a while, but of course, we all grew up as Jehovah's Witnesses, and so most of our, the way we were taught is much reflects on how we are to this day.
Right.
Your religion.
Okay, we get our coping skills through religion, right? From our parents. Exactly. Yes? In the back?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What would you define, or what is the difference between coping skills and defense mechanism?
Ah, okay. Coping skills are positive. Defense mechanism is usually a negative. Okay, we cope positive, well, usually. Defense mechanisms are what we do to protect us. Okay, but that doesn't, we don't want to get into defensiveness. That is not healthy for connecting. Probably talk more about that, but they're different. Okay? Okay, you can use a defense mechanism to cope. So if somebody tries to talk with you about, hey, I really don't like what you do this, and I get defensive, I'm coping with that through my defense mechanism, but it's not helping. It's not helping. It's a negative way to cope. We don't want to be defensive. We want to be open. Okay, so it's about how we cope. Remember, it's not what happens to you in life, it's how we deal with it. So that's why so many times in 12-step meetings, people might say, I'm a grateful alcoholic, right? When they introduce themselves. And new people are like, why are you saying you're grateful? Why would somebody be grateful? Because as a result of their disease, okay, they've had an awakening. And maybe it's been their opportunity to reflect their life. And as a result of reflecting their life, they're able to say, wow, this is what I'm grateful for, and this is what I have, and let me start over, and let me develop my strengths and things like that. And they say, because of this illness, because of the situation, maybe because of getting out of being a Jehovah's Witness, it's like now I can look at my life and be in control of what I want for myself. Get in touch with my values and beliefs. And that's extremely important, right? Values and beliefs are who we are. How many people in here are single? Okay, so you go on a date. Okay, you might do some small talk, but what do you really want to know on it? You want to know, what are your values and beliefs, so I can see if I'm comfortable and I want to spend more time with you. It's all about values and beliefs. Okay, countries go to war for values and beliefs, so we can't underestimate that. So, okay, coping skills, how we deal with things, how we cope with things. And, there's a phrase in therapy we call the no-limit person. No-limit people are usually people that take an obstacle, take adversity, and overcome it. How many part of good self-esteem is not being a victim of things that go wrong all the time. Because, everybody has problems. Everybody has disappointment. Everybody's been betrayed. We have inflation. We're all getting old. Everybody has health problems. Some people are disappointed with their parents. Some people are disappointed with their kids. But it's how we deal with it. What happens if you're at the airport and your plane gets delayed?
Deal with it.
Good. You deal with it.
coping skills flies right out the window when anger and resentment kicks in.
Well, they could fly out the window if you let it, and that's the whole point. I mean, you see some people, they're like, oh my God, we're delay, and this is terrible, and this airline's terrible. They'll complain to the people working there who can't do anything about it. And you know how that goes. Or, what can we do instead? Pout. You could pout. Oh.
Burn the airport
Don't get too hungry, angry, and lonely.
Yeah, watch the halt, right. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And I'm not going to let this make me too upset, too angry. Exactly. And I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go to the restaurant. I'm going to go to the magazine stand. I'm going to talk to somebody. I'm going to walk around and get some exercise. I'm going to use the time. I'm going to get on my computer. I mean, the point is it's a choice. And do we always look for the opportunity in the adversity? And it's a good idea to do that, because getting defensive and using the negative keep us stuck. Okay, not good for self-esteem. And my point here is that we have choices about how we cope. And, we learn a lot of things, as you were saying, you learn certain things in religion, and often, we learn the skills that worked for somebody else don't work for us. And that's a wonderful realization, to get to that point where we can be in control of our own life. It's so great. And we have to do that with so many things. The sad thing is when people are still trying to please, but we'll get into that. Okay, 2. Self-esteem is about appreciating my own worth and importance and having the character to be accountable for myself, right? Part of self-esteem is being accountable for yourself. Okay, so what does that mean if we're accountable? Yes.
Responsibility for our own actions.
Yes,
Opposed to always blaming things on everyone else or another situation.
Yes, taking responsibility for ourselves, not blaming other. Responsibility, responding with ability is responsibility. So, and if we want to be accountable to ourselves, we can look at that physically, emotionally, spiritually, and sexually. We've got lots of categories here that taking care of ourselves is a full-time job, don't you think? So physically, what's physically taken care of? What does that mean if we physically are accountable to ourselves? I didn't say sexually. I said physically. We'll get to that if you want. We can definitely get to that.
Give yourself proper nutrition, exercise.
Yeah. Nutrition, exercise.
Not only that, you have to pamper yourself and treat yourself and love yourself.
Yes.
You love yourself enough to do something special, like if you're single, take yourself out on a date.
Yes. You're bringing up here not just doing the basics, but something nice for yourself. Loving yourself enough to know that you're worthy of being treated well. Some people don't know how to do that. Some people don't think they deserve that. They can be good to other people, but not to themselves. Some people are a better friend to their friends than they are to themselves. So that's an excellent point. We're going to talk more about that too. So you're saying it's important, you're accountable when you treat yourself well. Yeah, not just we get out of survival and get into thrival. We don't want to just survive in life. We want to thrive. Okay, so it's treating. A lot of women though will say to me, "Oh, Denise, I feel like, why should I do all that for me?" They get uncomfortable putting positive attention to themselves. But I say if you have kids, yeah.
They get put first.
Yeah. Which is okay. That's different. But a lot of people do it with adults. And that's not okay. Okay, so physically, eating, sleeping, yes.
You could talk about the hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, Maslow's hierarchy scale, where you start with the basic needs and then you get up to those peak experiences in life at the top of the pyramid. Yeah, so we need the basic survival as well as the high points, the peak experiences. Yeah. Because we're human beings. We owe it to ourselves to thrive and prosper in adversity, for sure. Okay, emotionally, spiritually, what about spiritually? Being accountable? Probably we could have a whole workshop on that from everybody here in this room. It's about, again, being accountable, what works for me. I hear a lot of people say, well, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. They have a boundary there. They know what works for them. Getting out of a formalized religion, getting in a formal religion. I mean, people have to have boundaries, what works, what's true to them. Okay.
I know for most of us, most of us tend to shy away from religion, and we were talking about this last night. We were doing interviews for our revamping of our website, and it seemed like that was almost the reoccurring theme was, that you still have a relationship with your God, your higher power, but it's like, it's just kept to yourself now.
Takes a while to formulate what works when you've been burned. Definitely. Okay, let me read to you so you can get an idea here of some ideas about being personally accountable, because there's a lot to this. Okay, personal accountability scale, and I do have handouts if you like this or want this for later. Okay, my life is balanced. That's being accountable. Work and play. You work, but you have fun too. We have to have a balance there. I get plenty of rest. Anybody in here get plenty of rest?
Not this weekend.
There you go. Okay, one in the whole room. Okay. I wake up refreshed most mornings. You'll have to give us your tip back there.
It's called sleep apnea.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
CPAP machine.
Okay.
Knocks you out.
Yeah. I eat well. Okay. I spend plenty of time with people I love. It's a research study that where they went to every continent on the planet and they asked people that were dying, what do you wish you had done more of in your life? What did everybody say?
With my family.
I wish I had spent more time with the people I love. Biological family, family of choice, yeah. I'm a joy to be with. Joy is good. I have a great sense of humor. Okay, it helps get through life. That's always a good coping skill is humor. I make other people laugh. Okay, I have an active social life. And even for the introverts, introverted people have a harder time with the social life than the extroverts, but even introverts need to have some social life, some connection with other people. Okay? You happy with your social life? It's part of self-esteem. Okay. I initiate social activities with others. I have a positive attitude. I avoid stress. I tend to do one thing at a time. My talents are used well. Does everybody feel like the talents that you have, you're using them and they're an active part of your life? We got yeses, we got nos, we got both here. Okay. I am creative. My life has meaning. Life has to have meaning for self-esteem. Again, you don't want to work, make money, pay bills. You don't want to exist. You want to thrive. Okay. I have at least 2 friends I spend time with. I have a best friend. I live beneath my means. Yeah, that's hard for some people, but being financially we can't have good self-esteem if our finances are all over the place, right? Or if many people have great fears about money, but living according to your means is important. I'm responsible with money. Being responsible with money is important for self-esteem. Wouldn't you agree? Because how stable can you feel if financially you're not? It's a big part of mental health. I use my talents to help others outside of work. I have at least one interesting hobby. I make other people happy. I'm doing my part to make the world a better place. I'm reading the important ones. This is about being accountable, having a full life. Kind of makes it a little more specific, doesn't it? Okay. So, moving on with definitions of self-esteem. I hope you like the accountability scale. Appreciating my own worth and importance and having the character to be accountable for myself and to act responsibly towards others is the third one. Okay, what does it mean? Acting responsibly towards others. What do we owe others, if anything? Honesty, yep. What did you say? Oh, I thought you said sex. I was going to say, well, maybe, I don't know. Okay.
It's only been 20 minutes and we've already said a few things here.
Okay, I got distracted there. What did you say? Tell me again.
I forgot.
Respect, yes, respect. Acting responsibly towards others. Now, having respect, meaning I want to get my way in a situation, but I want you to get your way too. I want it to be a win-win situation. I care about me, but I care about you. Because if I get my way and you don't, nobody really wins. If it's not a win-win, nobody really wins. Okay, now the problem with this piece is that people start thinking about codependency. They think about other people and codependency comes up. What does codependent mean? If you're codependent,
Sometimes you put all your energy and effort at someone
yes.
on your side, like a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
or if not like a relationship, friendship,
Okay.
and it means that you put your stuff out in the back burner.
Yes. You may get involved with somebody else and your stuff goes on the back burner. Yes. Codependency is putting other people's needs ahead of yours at your expense. Okay? The key phrase here is at your expense. Okay? Because there are times we put other people's needs ahead of ours. You mentioned with children. Obviously, with children, if your 6-year-old has the flu and they're up all night, you're going to be up. And that's at your expense, but we have an ethical and a moral and a legal responsibility to do that. Okay. But in general, adult, if you do something for someone and you love it and you don't mind and you might even sacrifice, but you're okay with it, that's not codependency. But if you do it and you're not okay with it, then we're codependent. Okay? So being responsible doesn't mean being codependent. So if somebody comes over and there's one piece of chocolate cake left at my house and I say, would you like the chocolate cake? And the person says yes and they take it and I'm happy to give it to you, that's not codependent, that's loving and that's kind. Now, if I offer it to you and I really don't want to, and I'm hoping you say no, but I have some distorted motive, like maybe you'll tell somebody I did that, or whatever, and then you say yes, and then later I'm angry about it, okay, that's codependent. Do you see the difference? It's because I'm eating myself up over it because that wasn't what I wanted to do. Okay, and sometimes people are codependent and put other people's needs first because why? What's the motive? Why do people do that? You get love out of it? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah?
You really want love, but you don't know how to give it. You're searching for love,
Right.
but you don't know how to
That's
give
good.
it.
That's really good.
You're trying to fill that void in
Mhm.
the inside.
Right.
With,
So
with other things, but you can't.
Right. So I want to be loved, but I'll put your needs first so it'll keep you connected to me and I might feel love. That's how I can get you to like me. Okay.
Because you're not placing your self-worth on inside yourself on things that you can control. You're placing your self-worth on people outside of yourself and letting them have control of your self-worth.
Right, right. So that's always putting, yes, if you do things because I want you to like me, or I feel guilty if I don't do that, or you have expectations of me even though it's not what I want to do. See, that's codependent. Codependent is saying yes when you want to say no. Codependent is saying yes, putting you in a situation where you feel like a doormat or a victim. We don't want that. Victimization's not good. Okay, so codependent is giving up your power when you need to say no. So let's say you're having a busy week at work, and you know it's a killer week, and Friday night, your plan is to stay home on the couch and relax. It's, to get yourself balanced for the weekend. And of course, an old acquaintance calls you a Thursday night and says, I'm not feeling well. Could you stop off and could you bring me something to eat Friday night? Or could you do this for me? Could you do something for me? And your plan was to stay home and relax on the couch. What do you say? Well, I like that you're giving both answers. You're saying yes and no, because the point is you do have a choice here. And some people don't even realize they have a choice. They would just do it without even thinking, I do have an option to say no. I'm being asked. I'm not being forced.
You can simply say, I'm sorry, but I have other plans.
Absolutely. You could say that. You could say, I'm sorry, I have other plans. It could be a no. Point here is it's up to you what you want to say, but you have a choice. And sitting on the couch to rest, if that's part of being accountable to yourself, that's a plan. But see, some people say, well, that was nothing. I had no plans. I was just going to stay home, sit on the couch. Sometimes that's a plan. Believe me, when you're over 50, that's a real plan. You know what I mean? It's a plan for me sometimes. And you never know what's going to happen. I had a friend, and, my godchildren, when they were little, the parents would say, could you babysit? It was always a dilemma for me, but, on a Friday or Saturday night, especially a Friday night, because I wanted to, and at the same time, that was exhausting, being around two little kids. And what if I was already tired, and then what if things came up Saturday and Sunday? It wasn't a good, fresh way to start the weekend. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes I'd say yes, and it would be okay. And sometimes I'd say no, and many times I remember thinking, it's so good I said no to babysitting. I wouldn't have been able to deal with this, and this that came up on Saturday. Do you know what I mean? Because you just didn't know. Sometimes, so sometimes it's a hard call. And again, we want to be there for people because we want them to be there for us. But at the same time, we have to have that boundary and sometimes say no. Cannot have a boundary and simultaneously feel responsible for the other person's feelings. Right? Because if you start thinking about their feelings too much, you lose your boundary. Is that too strong for everybody? Does it make sense? It's a hard. How many people here are more passive than assertive? Okay, yeah, boundaries can be tough. I like working with passive people, though. Usually, sometimes when someone is going from, there's passive, assertive, and aggressive. And so a lot of passive people, they want to be more assertive. And, what you have to remember with assertiveness is just be honest and direct. If you're honest and direct, that's assertive. Because often with passive people, they'll say, well, I was going to say this, but I didn't want to be aggressive. And then I say, well, what were you going to say? And they tell me it was never aggressive. But it's just so different because you're so used to being passive. And most people are passive because they don't want to rock the boat. They think, well, at least if I'm passive, you'll like me. And if I'm passive, the big one, I'll avoid confrontation. I'll avoid conflict. I don't want any conflict. How many people here want to avoid conflict like the plague? Yeah. So you give in. And it's easier to be passive. But the truth is, after many years of doing that, a lot of people say, well, I want people to like me for me, not just because I always do what they want to do. I want I want to have my own identity. Because after a while, it gets kind of tiring if you feel like you've lost yourself. Would you agree? Yeah. My favorite book is, does everybody know Wayne Dyer? He's written a lot of self-help books. And my favorite book of his, the first page, has 3 lines. It says, I always wanted to be somebody. Now I am somebody, but it isn't me. So I really like that. It's about being true to yourself. So, okay, so we want to be responsible to other people, but that doesn't mean giving up my identity to please you, because that wouldn't be responsible at all. Responsible is let's have a win-win, let's compromise, let's negotiate, let's be adults, let's take the high road. Do you see what I mean? But it's not being codependent in the least. And some people still feel it's a bit of a fine line. I see you're all saying yes. I feel like we should spend more time on that. But okay, so it's not codependency. Okay, so again, definitions of self-esteem: how you feel about yourself based on your personal evaluation of yourself. But the real 4th thing is self-esteem is being worthy of love and happiness. That's at the core, really feeling like I deserve love and I deserve to be happy. Would you say that you believe that? Yes, no, we're getting a lot of mixed feelings. Do you know people? Have you ever worked with somebody and they don't just feel like they deserve love or happiness? They really have a block to it. I think most of us have faced that with people. But okay, let's put here before we deserve love and happiness. So, we have to look at what gets in the way. What gets in the way of number 4? Why would somebody not feel they deserve love and happiness? Low self-esteem. Yeah, right. Exactly. And maybe you want to tell me let's do a time check here so I'm on time. You want to let me know when we've passed, when we take our break after the first hour?
Yeah, you're 30 minutes in right now.
Okay, good. Thank you. Well, about another 30. Oh, well, we're 30 minutes in, so we'll do one in another 30 minutes? It's 2 hours, right? Okay, so we're in 30. Let's do another 30. Will you let me know when the next 30 is? Thank you. Okay, so what gets in the way? Yeah. Yes, conditioning makes people not feel deserving of love and happiness. Conditioning from religion, definitely. Parents, what else? Relations, significant others, you're doing great. Yeah. Anything else? Parents, religion, teachers, growing up, we get messages. Okay. So this is, let me tell you, we're going to talk about what gets in the way so we can overcome it. 2 things that get in the way are shame and guilt. Okay, which are really exciting things to talk about, believe it or not. Okay. Say it again?
Shame and guilt. We talked about it quite.
Oh, he did? Okay, well then you have all the answers and I'll go quickly, but let me cover it and see if I can add something. Okay. Shame and guilt are really, both shame and guilt, it's really funny because I used to teach a class on overcoming shame. And people say, why do you, I smile sometimes because I always think about it. Okay, I'm teaching this class at Leisure Learning. Leisure Learning in Houston is a center where they teach adult classes at night, all good cooking, everything. I have some mental health classes. So I'm teaching this class on shame, okay? And, it just, you have to remember, we got to make it interesting because who wants to talk about shame for an hour? You know what I mean? But you'll see, because I hope to make it interesting for you. But anyway, I was in this room and I said, okay, we're going to start the class on shame. And at that very minute, the 3 ladies in the front row started crying. Okay? So I'm like, oh boy. And at the same minute, this real funky blues music was coming from the room next door, which I am loving. This is like B.B. King, Buddy Guy, kind of blues. And they're crying, and the blues is going next door. So I'm thinking, I got to go next door, see what this class is, right? So I go over, because I didn't know, I was going to tell them to lower the music, whatever. How to strip for your lover. Can you believe it? How to strip for your lover is next to my shame class, okay? So it's like, ever since then, shame's never been the same, okay? Never. But anyway, I just thought that's why I'm always smiling talking about shame. But anyway, okay. Guilt and shame both make us feel bad, but they're completely different. And let's talk about guilt. Guilt makes us feel bad because why? Feel guilty because you did something or you didn't do something. You did it or you didn't, okay? So with guilt, if you can see that, guilt always has an action. Okay? Guilt has an action to it. You did it or you didn't do it. I said too much, I said the wrong thing, or I forgot to send my mother a birthday card. Okay? So guilt is easy to get rid of. You just do it differently. What do I feel guilty about? Look at it and say, well, what do I want to do different? Well, I need to get a calendar so next year I'll remember to send my mother a birthday card. Guilt, you work through it. There's always an action. Okay? Did Tony say that? Okay. So isn't it great to have different people's input and different takes, you know? Okay, so we have guilt and then we have shame. Now, shame, you feel bad too, but it's not because of anything you did. Shame is different. Shame is, I feel bad for just being me. Okay? It means I feel a little dirty, a little different, a little defective, a little less than. If you really knew me, you wouldn't like me. And not worthy, exactly. And this is just a mask that I'm wearing to get by life. So shame is a discounted feeling person. Okay? So, everybody has some shame. Shame isn't all bad. This is how it goes. You grow up, okay, and shame is when you're a kid, and let's say they're picking sides for the softball team, and you don't get picked. But you know, I'm terrible at this. I can't hit the ball worth anything. So you're standing there, they're picking other people, and nobody's picking you, and you're like, nobody's picking me, but I know because I'm no good at this anyway. Okay, and that's shame. Okay? Shame is that maybe you're not good in math, and that, or you're not good in something. They post the grades on the board, and there's your name with the F, and you feel bad. Okay, shame teaches us we can't be good in everything. Okay, not everybody can be good in everything. Some people are better at certain things than you are. You're better at certain things than other people. So when you get shamed and you go home, and if there's a loving environment, and you have parents that listen to your feelings and say, that's okay, honey, we know, okay, well, we'll work on that, or, but you're so good in this. You know, that's where we need somebody to help us put it in a healthy perspective. You know, and then shame's not such a bad thing. Okay, because we're not good at everything. And that's okay. We're not supposed to be. This also deals with perfectionism and all that too. But okay, so that's some shame. But some people have deep shame, okay? If you've been physically abused, sexually abused, or your parents get divorced when you're a kid, kids tend to think it's my fault. Oh, if I were better, mom and dad wouldn't fight. If I were better, mom wouldn't get drunk. You know, and then you have those moments where, you know, those shocking moments where something might have happened where a kid goes up to their mom on a Saturday and they're 7 and the mother has a hangover and the kid's so happy to wake the mom up and the mother says, you know, I hate you, I wish you had never been born. You know, and that's like huge shame. Okay? So we all have some shame. Some people have more than others. So in order to have good self-esteem, I want to tell you how to get rid of shame. I'm going to show you an exercise, okay? Quick and easy, powerful. Because remember, we're adults. In my practice in therapy, I don't tell my clients what to do. I have a very intelligent, insightful, high-functioning clientele. They all know what to do. They're not coming to me to tell them what to do. Therapy is about, let's get rid of the things that are stopping you from doing what you know you need to do. That's tricky. Getting rid of the cobwebs. This is an exercise to show you how to get rid of shame. Okay? And it's simple and easy. So, we're still on the up, even though we're talking about shame, right? 6 simple things. Okay, this is called incident writing. It's very powerful and fail-proof. It's amazing. It has changed people's lives. Okay, 6 simple things. First thing, you think of the shaming incident, okay, which we all don't want to do, but we do the date or the age. When did it happen? So people might say, oh my God, it happened last Wednesday with my boss. I had this horrible shaming incident, but this thing happened right before they laid me off. Or you might say, oh, it was my 25th birthday. Oh, I remember that. Or it might have been, Christmas of 2002. You know, people always remember basically a date or an age of something shameful that happened. Okay, 2, what happened? Okay, 1 paragraph only. So I have an example. I'll make this up. Somebody told me this once. I was in 2nd grade and the teacher asked me to stand up and read, and I stood up with my book and I went to read in front of the class and I stuttered and I spit. And when I stuttered and spit, I looked up and everybody was laughing at me. And then I looked at the teacher and she was laughing at me. Okay? That would be an incident. That's a shame incident. Okay? And you would be amazed in therapy when people tell me a shame incident, like 90% of the time, and this person said it too, they said, and to this day, I can't read out loud. It's so amazing that the incident, it holds, and this is somebody who it happened 40 years ago. but you remember it affects you, okay? So that's why we got to get rid of this stuff. Okay, so what happened? Okay, and then 3 and 4 is pretty easy. 3, what did you think? What would a kid think? You'd think, oh my God, I hate this class. What else? I'm not good at reading. I want to go home. I want to get out of here. I don't want to come back. I don't like this teacher. Right? Be negative thinking. Okay. And how would you feel? You'd feel ashamed. Angry, humiliated, less than. You have all these feelings. Now, most of us have had something happen to us that has made us feel terrible. And every once in a while it'll pop into our minds, and we can do 1, 2, 3, 4 in a tenth of a second, and we go, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. But let me show you the value in it. Okay. Last 2 more points that changes everything. Okay. 5 is, and stay with me on this, it's called values contradicted. Back to values here. Okay, now, if I grew up to be just like that teacher, now I'm not saying the teacher might have been a great teacher, but that particular incident showed some poor teaching skills, right? Just like sometimes parents are great parents, but every once in a while you're not showing good parent skills, right? Because you have a bad day. So if I grew up to be just like that person, I probably wouldn't be embarrassed by it. I'd be that so much that it wouldn't bother me. Do you see what I mean? But when you grow up and you say, this happened to me, I feel terrible about it. These things weren't right. These were horrible. That tells you that you have values today that are different than the values that went on in that incident. You with me? So, for example, a value I would have today, I would say, children shouldn't be laughed at in the classroom. Okay? If a child trips or spits or pees in their pants or whatever they do, then a teacher for a 2nd grade class should be able to say, hey, everybody, she should be able to or he should be able to normalize that and say, we all do this, and, normalize it. Not make this child the focus of the shame, right? I mean, I feel as an adult with adults, sometimes I have to go in and normalize, I don't think that's a funny joke, or I don't think this, or I don't think that. But you take a stand instead of picking someone out as the scapegoat. I don't like seeing somebody be a scapegoat. Do you know what I mean? A lot of us today would step in and say something because it's a value that we have today. Don't pick on them because it could be them, it could be me. Do you know what I mean? And you just kind of normalize the situation. I have a value school should be a safe place. I have a value that teachers should step in. What other values? School should be safe. You don't want kids to be laughed at unless they're laughing too. But you get the idea? So when I think of my values, school should be safe. I really believe that somebody should have stepped in and done something different, which is what I'd like to think I would do now. Then it's like, wow, it didn't happen the way I think it should happen. I could be like this or I could be like this. What do I want to be like? So sometimes the shame gets you in touch with who you really are today. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, and you see it differently. People say all the time, I don't want to come, why should I come to therapy to talk about something bad that had a woman, this happened, so I'm here, I was sexually abused, I don't want to be here, and I don't want to pay you to talk about this. I'm like, I'm with you. I don't think you should have to either. And one woman said, everywhere I go, there's movies, it's in the paper. I'm so tired about seeing sexual abuse. She said, it's just so unfair. So we worked a little bit together on this. Okay, so after couple of months, she came in one day, she said she really got it and made great progress, and she said, I think there should be more out there on sexual abuse and people should really get it, because what she got by looking back is, I'm not responsible for it. It wasn't my fault. This was some sick person, friend of my parents, who took advantage of me, and I was a kid. And I had nothing to do with that. And she got rid of that completely and put it back where it was. So here's somebody who's a weakling, who's abusing me for control, for power, because he's getting away with something. I mean, we got into it. Of course, all the things that you know about sexual abuse. And she felt empowered. And then it didn't bother her anymore. Do you see how that works? You get the value of who you are, and then it's like water off a duck's back. And then that shame incident changes, and you're not the awkward kid or the adult who's down in the situation, you become the empowered one. It's really powerful. Yes, it's all about confronting your fears till you realize that you don't need to have those fears. Because kids, we just develop what we can to survive. Kids just survive, and they can't say, this is a bad situation, I'm getting in the car and getting out of here. They have to, we have a saying in therapy, there are no victims, only volunteers, but children are victims. They can't leave. That's the hard part. Then we have to learn it different. So the sixth part is losses. Okay, so this is where the guy says, and to this day I can't read out loud. So we did this, incident, and, because we want to change the shame. For goodness sakes, it's not just being able to read out loud. That's not really so important. It's really about you're not that awkward person that people laugh at. Do you see what I mean? That you don't have to stay feeling shamed and less than your whole life. Now, some people have a shame incident, you get over it, and it's not so bad. But what if that happened at school, and then you go home and your parents criticize you or abuse you, and then something else happens? The more you get, the more it starts to stick as an identity. Do you see? So anyway, we did this work, and this guy ended up coming into therapy one night, and he was laughing, and he had made a lot of progress. And he said, I was at this meeting, some social meeting he was in, and they asked people, he said, I volunteered to read. I actually read out loud. And we both started laughing. But it was really great because it came to fruition. But it wasn't about the reading. It was about, I'm really getting it. It's not a problem for me anymore. And now that it's not a problem for me anymore, I can read out loud. Do you see? But I think this is really powerful. It really gets us in touch with what our values and beliefs are. And knowing that's really important. Again, countries go to war for values and beliefs. And for the single people, again, this is what you're looking for when you go on a date. We can do small talk, but who are you really? What do you really believe in? Where's your passion? What are your values? What do you believe? What are your beliefs? Because if I enjoy that and if I value that, then I'm going to want to be close to you. And we love to be with people that have the same values and beliefs we do. That's why we have groups like this, because there's the common bond, that you share a common experience, common belief, and it's very powerful. There's power in that. So that's the thing on shame. So I don't think it's dark. I think it's empowering, and I think it's a very important piece of having good self-esteem, is getting rid of anything that we're feeling bad about ourselves because of somebody else or another situation that really isn't connected to us. But kids don't know how to push it away. They can't. But we can as adults and say, what's the truth? Because we have to define how we want to be. Make sense? Thoughts, questions? All right. Okay. Do you want to take a little break? We can take a little break. Okay. We'll end shame and guilt and pick up on something else. All right. Thank you.